legit. Oh, that is too cool.
Hey NMS fans, welcome back. I'm skyDM, and today we're going to take our first dive into Hello Games' newest update, Sentinel. Overall, this video is going to cover combat, and if that excites you the way it excites me, then get yourself strapped in, because here we go. First up, we're going to check out the new upgrades for the multi-tool being sold at the Anomaly. On our way there, I'll go over a little bit on what exactly the update actually entails. Now, the official word from Hello Games states that the Sentinel update brings a major overhaul to the combat system. And after spending some time with it, I can wholeheartedly say they weren't kidding. The biggest change I've noticed is now there is actually a measure of strategy needed to take down enemy groups. I will be going over what that strategy is, as well as going over the best practices that I've come up with for dealing with the new drone threat. Now, before getting into the weeds of it, I would like to point out that No Man's Sky is a game focused primarily on exploration. But while the game is also filled with tons of hazards and danger, the way they present the changes to the combat system are well within line for at least my expectations. Now, the Sentinel update concerns Sentinels. If you're just getting to NMS or No Man's Sky, Sentinels act as a kind of police force on the planets that you explore, and they have long been an element of the game. Except now, you have an opportunity to dig into the lore of their origin, which is actually what Hello Games wanted to deliver a long time ago, but I won't get into that. Now, on a personal note, as we make our way through the station here, I am pleased to announce that I've just received a brand new Alienware X17 laptop and monitor to game and produce videos on. Now, I'll be uploading a video of that unboxing at some point here in the next week or so. Super excited to see what it does for the quality of game videos and speed of editing. On the subject of things to come, in real life, I'm a flight instructor, and as this channel starts to see more subscribers, I think my first giveaway is going to be in the form of a free flight lesson, or maybe something cool aviation related. Not quite sure just yet how that's going to play out. Alright, so now that we're here at the Anomaly, we're going to head back to what I like to call affectionately the Upgrade Mall. Now we'll take a quick spin around here. I don't believe that there were any other physical cosmetic changes to the Anomaly itself, other than just this one here I'd like to point out, and that is the new display cases showcasing the weapon through the glass. You can see it from a distance now. You don't have to walk over and open it up to see what's actually contained inside. Really, it's just going to let you know whether or not there's something exotic looking in there, whether or not you're going to actually purchase it. It's also got those monitors around there. I don't remember if those were there from before or not, but those are also kind of cool looking. At minimum, they look like they're upgraded, higher resolution. All right, so next we're going to go into the menus here and take a look at the multi-tool upgrades. First one that I want to take a peek at here is the Paralysis Mortar. Now, the thing to know, I'm not going to read this to you, but the thing to know about the Paralysis Mortar is essentially it's like lobbing a grenade, and in its area of effect, it will prevent any biological or drone sentinel based life forms from being able to move or attack. You are still free to attack them, and which is a smart thing to do, and this just goes into that area of effect weaponry into your arsenal. We'll be installing that here in a moment. Next thing I want to look at is going to be the cloaking device. Now, this is noted here as being an active camouflage unit. A couple things to note about it is that it will have its own bar, its own meter running in the bottom right, just as if it were a jetpack or if you're sprinting and you have your meters that run down to 0. The time that you're invisible will also run down. The look of it is actually what is kind of making this thing most appealing, is that you have a very 1987 Predator quasi-invis look to your character when you use it. It is of note that when you are using it, if you try to enable your jetpack or fire your weapon, it will disable it. But that as soon as you are done either using your jetpack or weapon, that if you have any time left on your invisibility meter, it will reinitiate immediately the invisibility effect. Now, one thing that I do want to test once I get this installed is exactly what are the limitations of being invisible. Do hazardous plants still attack you if you are invisible? Should they be able to see you when you're invisible or not? Or do doors open and close, specifically the ones that use the proximity sensor? Will they be able to pick up when you are invisible? Just things that, I'm not 100% sure of right at the moment. So we'll see how that works. Now, what I am going to do is I'm just going to purchase everything else on the tree. Those will be for future videos and stuff. Now, I won't bore you guys by making you watch that, but I will take you over to the Exocraft guy because I would like to showcase, while we are here, the Minotaur AI Pilot. It's an autonomous control unit. And essentially, if you have the Minotaur Exocraft, you would take this and install it, and this becomes basically a companion in itself. Anytime that you're not riding inside of it, it will be a companion for you. And if something attacks you, or if you attack something else and it tries to attack you back, that unit, that Minotaur Exocraft, will actually jump in and assist you in fighting whatever it is that has gone up against you. That's all I'm going to say on that. I will showcase more of what that looks like when I get into a fight a little bit later on here with some of the new drones. But for now, let's get over to the space station. All right, so for the first two tests that we're going to try out here, we're going to make sure that we can sprint while being invisible. You're going to see those meters in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. There's invisibility engaged and sprinting. My goodness, I love that fractal look around the edges of the screen. That is absolutely perfect for this effect for when we are trying to be invisible. Now we're going to let that meter come back to being invisible. All right, now as soon as the jetpack is engaged, it goes off, and immediately, as soon as you release the jetpack, instantly goes back to being invisible again. Absolutely love it. Those work perfectly. Can't wait to use them in combat. All right, so the next thing I want to test out is whether or not, while we are invisible, if the proximity sensors can detect us. Now you can see I've got a simple little illuminated box here hooked up to a proximity sensor, and that's got power to it. There it is, it's working. So it works when we are visible, but does it work when we are not? And it looks like it still works. So that's actually kind of a bummer. I was hoping for, I mean, I know these are like little detail things and it really doesn't change the gameplay at all, but that's the kind of stuff right there that had that actually worked, I don't know. I mean, I love the effect the way that it is, but unfortunately this is kind of a, I don't know. I get not a thumbs down, but certainly not a thumbs up. Next, I would like to try it with the hazardous plants. Kind of the same thing with the illumination boxes here. It's not going to be a huge game changer for me, but it would be cool if you could utilize, being quasi-invis to snatch up some of those oxygen sacks. And it looks like, so the plants are still aware, which I guess kind of does make sense. They don't have eyes that would be sensing you coming in anyway. So this one gets a pass for me, but it would make a small change in the gameplay. Minute detail, like I said before, if that's how it worked. So moving on. All right, so the next thing we want to take a look at here is now for the paralysis mortar, just how far out these can reach. So here I'm at my base, I've got an island that I utilize just to land my ship on. And you can see that the first one fell a little bit short, not necessarily the best arc, but now if we get a higher angle, can we hit the island? Oh yeah, it landed on the top of it there, so using the analysis visor, you can see that's 170, 180 units away. So we can actually reach out about 180 units. That's pretty impressive. And honestly, just looking at the electrical charges coming off of those things, the sounds that they've chosen, I mean, they're perfect. They're absolutely perfect. But in this test, I think 180, that's a good reach. I'm actually very pleased with that. All right, next test, underwater. Now I'm gonna just test this out. I love the sounds that this thing is making underwater. It's like each time you fire it, it has its own unique noise. No, wait, it didn't paralyze them. What? I don't know if this is an oversight by Hello Games, but if you're underwater, it does not paralyze biological entities. This clearly must be an oversight. Because I just hit 5 of them with a single paralysis mortar there, and it didn't do anything. Let's try this out on land now. All right, quick test. We're gonna check it out on this here green fauna, and it looks like it works as advertised. We can see that the creature, and it also does go aggressive after you shoot it, and then the aggression goes away. That's actually really peculiar. I might want to investigate that a little bit more in a further video, but now that I know that that works, let's go take a look at some combat. All right, so first thing to notice here is that I pointed my weapon at this guy, and it immediately showed interest in coming over to me, which I can say is actually pretty intimidating. So kudos to Hello Games for making these things pretty friggin' awesome in that manner. Now, look to the left side of the screen as I shoot the first paralysis mortar at this thing. Instantly, drones come out of nowhere. And this is where like the strategy part of this comes in. You'll notice there's that wrench over one of the drones' heads. That's the one that's doing the repair. So I don't recommend, if you're going to get into a fight with some of the drones, don't start with this guy if you're not comfortable with combat, because he's going to just keep on you, which is going to prevent you from being able to get at, especially those helper drones there in the background. So you can see what I'm doing here is I'm hitting it with the paralysis mortar. That locks everybody up. Shoot the support drones. I'm actually making a bit of a mistake there. I should have went for the guy on the left immediately because he's the one that's healing everyone else. But keep the fight on. As soon as they stay clumped up like that, or as soon as they get clumped up like that, hit them again with that paralysis mortar, lock them up, and then just drill down with more and more firepower. That's the best way to handle those guys. Next thing on the list, be mobile. What I noticed is that if you stay in one spot for too long, they're going to start throwing up these red force fields like you can see on the screen, and then you're going to waste a ton of time and ammunition just throwing it into those force fields when you should be firing it at the Sentinels themselves. Now, something else that I thought was kind of interesting is as this big guy is like jumping around and shooting you, it also lobs these like red energy balls at you, and they are literally scarring the landscape. You can see here I am falling into the pockmarks that this thing is making in the landscape. Now, should that be happening to you and you start taking a lot of damage, what I did was actually came off of using the paralysis mortars, switched over to the plasma launchers, started doing a lot of extra damage to those support drones so that I could pick up some extra shield energy. You might be able to do the same. It's all just up to strategy, where you're at while the fight is taking place. Okay, so one thing to point out is that I started this fight off by attacking one of those walkers. It looks like here on suppression level 4 that's when they actually show up, is on level 4. So if you start with one of those, you'll wind up having to fight another one of them throughout the fight. Now, interestingly, here on level 4, what I noticed is that, kind of like what I was saying before, is like if you attack the smaller drones, you'll get more and more of those energy barrels that'll help keep your health and your shields up. Well, they throw so many of them at you at the higher levels of severity that you seem to have this constant influx of just health. It's like they're just throwing the health at you. So I don't want to say that it got easier as the fight went on. It certainly didn't. But I will say that the opportunity to keep your health bar up goes up as the opportunities to keep your health bar up goes up as the fight continues on, which was just kind of an interesting observation to have made while everything was happening. Okay, as we begin our suppression level 5 breakdown here, I'm going to be freeze framing just a couple times to kind of slow down the action and talk about exactly what the hell we're seeing on the screen. For instance. So if you look, we've actually got multiple different types of drones represented on the screen. The first one here, these are the ones that seem to do just like tons of damage and throw up the force fields. These are the ones that keep healing any and all other drones. It seems like they can almost put out more healing power than you can do damage per second. The last one is this guy. This is the one where I will show you shortly. It can keep summoning more drones over and over to keep the fight going. Now, I realized here on level 5, I kind of had to shift my tactics a little bit. You want to go after those support healers first, then take out your summoners, and you'll see why here in just a second. I try to follow my rule where they were all kind of getting to my right and surrounding me. I went to create some distance. As soon as I turn around, boom, right there in center of the screen, you see the summoner just summoned in 2 more drones. That's 2 more drones that I now have to take out before I can complete this fight. Meanwhile, this is suppression level 5. I've got that giant walker coming in somewhere. I am inundated with so many from the front now that you'll notice that they all just start throwing up shields and just start taking pop shots at me. At this point, I should have moved to the left and started taking them out from the side as well, hitting them with those plasma launchers. So now the next part happens kind of fast. Had I been a little bit smarter and a little bit faster here, I might have been able to prevent some of this, but the big walker showed up, and when it did, it showed up with a whole new string of summoners and healers. Now I noticed this as soon as it happened and went right after those healers and summoners, but if you look right here, there's a summoner on the screen. By the time that I'm getting my weapon reloaded, it had enough time to summon in 2 more drones. Now I'm trying to put some space between myself and those new drones and instantly find myself face to face with one of those Boston Dynamics specials. If you're unfamiliar with that, Maybe a little bit of YouTube search will bring you up to speed. All right, anyway, so at this point you want to, as I learn here very quickly, my own rules, keep moving, create space. If you sit in one spot and just let these things start beating down on you, it's game over. Now you want to divide and conquer. Take out those support drones like we've been talking about. Healers, summoners. Next, go after the dog. Take the dog out. Once the dog's out, start picking up those green barrels as you're taking out the normal regular drones. That'll keep your health and your shields up. All right, so a couple more things to kind of seal up combat here. One, I wanted to see how well the AI Minotaur did in a fight alongside the character. And point out a couple of the things is that, you know, as the fight's progressing and the landscape gets more and more pocked, you're going to notice that, like, you're going to fall into those divots, and it is just going to cause hell with your crosshair placement. Also, anytime that you're in a fight and the floating drones have the ability to choose between you and the Minotaur, they always seem like they're going to choose you, which means that when they put their force fields up, it's going to be in your direction, which still allows your Minotaur to have an open vantage to the backside where all those drones are hiding, like you can see here on the screen. Now, I didn't notice that there was any like preference for the Minotaur AI to be locking onto. Also, here on the screen right now, you'll see that there's a summoner, and it's going to be in the middle of a summoning, and of course I fall into a fucking pock market here, but it is in the middle of a summoning, and if you can kill it before it finishes the summoning, you will prevent those summoned drones from even showing up on the battlefield. So that is why it is so important that as soon as you see one of those sons of bitches, you just take it out. Just take it out. Now here, we finished all the other drones, and I'm talking like me and my Minotaur go way back. But as soon as that fight's over, it knows that there's the other aggro, and it goes over to start taking out the big old walker. All right, let's go ahead and put a bow on this No Man's Sky Sentinel Update combat video. Two things happen when you take out that walker. One, Sentinel network goes down. No more Sentinels are going to be showing up now. Number two, you're going to get the location for a Sentinel nest. Now, that's going to be where you can find one of those new nifty, exotic, rare multi-tools. I'm going to go into detail on another video, probably the next video, as well as everything that we've been picking up in this fight, the weird purple pieces of glass and some of the other pieces of like tech that they're dropping. We're going to go into all of that in the next video. Last thing for this right here is the walker brain. If you ever go and you find yourself in this situation, for me, the walker brain was stuck at the top of the legs, but I didn't have enough inventory slots to get everything that the walker brain box had in it. And when that box vanishes, you can't go back and get the pieces that you missed. So lesson learned there. Now, I just want to say thanks for sticking around as long as you have. If you like the content, go ahead, like and subscribe. Maybe even leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think. I've been skyDM. I'll see you in the next one. Over and out.